Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TinyBlueGames. My name is of course Seesaw or Chris, and today we're playing Final Fantasy XIV in 2019. How's it going? Hopefully you are having a great day. Today we are checking out the fishing job. It's sort of something that you would unlock through a blue feature quest, and it's kind of gotten to this point where I can't go through a main city without being tempted by all these different blue quests for jobs, for crafting jobs, gathering jobs, or just to unlock different features. I'm kind of trying to stay focused on the main scenario quests and becoming a bard, but there is so much that you can do, and it's a great problem to have, but I feel tempted to check each of these out when I walk by, and today I got hooked on fishing. Yes, I know. But really, fishing is something I was quite interested in doing for two reasons. Number one, it's something you see in so many different MMOs and other games in general, and it's always fun to see how it compares from one game to another. The other reason is that in the comments, a lot of people have been saying that fishing is a very relaxing and enjoyable gathering skill. I'd made a video about the botanist skill before, where I discussed how nice it was just to go around harvesting trees and stuff while I waited for queues, and they're like, if you think that's nice, wait until you have fishing. So here we go. We're going to take a look at fishing. I've kind of gotten to a point now where things make a lot more sense. When I get a new job, I get a new weapon. By switching weapons, that's how I switch jobs. It makes a lot more sense, and it's crazy to think back, 1 or 2 months ago when I tried out my first crafting job, carpentry, and I was so confused by the idea that I had to switch a weapon to switch jobs. Because when you come from a different MMO, it doesn't necessarily make sense. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of tutorials in the game that tell you this is what you have to do, but let's be honest, a lot of MMO players don't read quest text or tutorial text sometimes, and it takes a little bit of trial and error to get there. But once you've done it a few times, it makes a lot of sense that you can just switch around like this. And what's better than that is the fact that I don't have to drop one of my existing professions to get this profession, which is the case in pretty much every MMO I've played. Certainly WoW and Guild Wars 2. Actually, was it in Guild Wars 2? That I don't remember, but certainly in World of Warcraft, you had to drop one of the other professions if you wanted more. So it's definitely a nice thing that you can have multiple professions, and you don't feel like you have to sort of just stick with what you've got. Pretty cool. The actual fishing itself seems pretty similar to a lot of games. We'll get to it in a second. The biggest difference, though, is that there is a bit of an assortment of bait that you can use. There's also a fishing log, which is pretty common as well. And actually, the game that I've enjoyed fishing in most recently, which is kind of weird now that I'm thinking about it, was MapleStory 2, that had a ton of fishing and a lot of different sort of achievements you could get for fishing different creatures and fishing in different areas. So the idea of this fishing log really reminds me of that style of fishing, where it's a lot about exploration and collection and achievement, which is really cool and is very in line with fishing in a lot of games. What I didn't see right away is I don't think there was little schools, because a lot of games do have sort of little packets of fish that you can see in the water, and I didn't necessarily see any of them when I was fishing, but I was having no trouble just sort of fishing in the open water. So I might find schools of fish in different area, but I'm not entirely sure. And that actually kind of gets me to another point I should bring up for everyone. I'm not an expert at this game. This is not a guide for how you should fish. If you want to learn how to do fishing properly in Final Fantasy XIV, you should probably check out somewhere else. This is kind of just a very basic introduction as to where you can find the job and what it looks like. So this is me fishing. Pretty cool, pretty chill. What you have to do is sort of watch for your rod to bend down. But if you do have the chat box set to combat, I believe you can actually see it says something's on your hook. Or that might be when you use the skill 3, when you actually hook something. But it's a pretty simple thing. You just sort of leave it in the water, wait for it to catch, and then push the number 3 action to hook the fish, and that'll pull it in. And I haven't had an issue where I've been unsuccessful once I've actually hooked a creature. I've had issues where I didn't find anything, or at least I didn't see the rod bounce enough, and I just wasted my bait. I've also had issues when I do bring it up and it's kind of like a piece of moss or something like that, which isn't exactly what you want, but it's not. Oh, there you go, some kelp. I mean, you still get an achievement for finding kelp or something like that, so it's good to find it, but you don't want to keep getting kelp, probably. What we're actually looking for, and what's the first quest of the fishing guild, is to deliver some anchovies. And it was said that you can find them sort of just right outside of the fishing guild area, which is where we are, using the basic first bait they give you, which is like worms. It sounds like depending on the bait you use in the area, you have a different pool of fish that you can kind of get, or at least it increases your chance of getting those fish. The other thing that I've learned from other professions and that carries forward here is that the gear I'm wearing is specific to gathering, which is such a different concept compared to a lot of games. I mean, I guess in World of Warcraft you would have like gloves that might give you a little bit extra gathering skill, or might allow you to like pick herbs quicker. But the idea that there's like a specific gathering stat, and that my gear allows me to have a greater chance of collecting fish, is very interesting. And something that I'm very excited to see how it becomes more complex later on in the game. Because if there's one thing that I know, is that most of these professions, most of these jobs, most things in Final Fantasy XIV get a lot more complex as you get into the higher levels. Or at least that's what I've been told. We haven't gotten there ourselves. But I've heard that like skills like carpentry and stuff can have like a list of different things and actions that you have to do to make the proper thing. So I'm really excited to see if that applies to fishing, or maybe it's a nice contrast where fishing is actually quite a laid back, relaxing skill that is just more about finding the right place and the right bait. But there you can see we got our first anchovy, and it did seem once I got the first anchovy, I had a greater chance of getting more anchovies. And you can sort of see here through the log, I'm checking out what fish we have already found here. And it kind of lists it out by area. So like if you were, I don't know, trying to remember where you had found a certain type of fish, you could go through the log and be like, oh yes, I need to go back to the docks here and fish. So it's a really cool piece of information to have, and it certainly plays, I guess, into the real world of how you would assume if you were sort of like an adventurer that was trying to live off fish or trade fish. You would make notes in a little book of where you were successful and what bait you used, what time of day might even come into play. And I'm not sure if that is something that comes into play in this game or not, but I know in WoW and stuff, you would have certain fish that you could only catch at night, like the midnight salmon, I think, are actually ones from this current expansion that you can only get at a certain hour of night, which is a very cool thing to do, especially with games that cycle through night and day a few more times than the real world does. So there is, the chance that you can actually be there for the right time. What I also really enjoyed actually being by the docks was just the visuals of it. With it going from day to night so quickly, you do see like all the lights come on and the city really lights up and is quite beautiful. I think the lighting is one of the big artistic pieces of this game that really draw me into the world. I'll often be walking through a place and be like, wow, that's really like cool shadows and stuff like that. Or if you're coming up to a city or a town from a distance and you can see the lighting. And keep in mind that my graphics are quite low. For those of you who don't know, I'm playing on a really old gaming laptop. It is an MSI gaming laptop, but it is, well, A, it's a laptop, so not great, and B, we're talking super old, like what graphics? It's got a sticker here, 1 second. A GTX 770M. So that's what we're running this at right now while recording. It's a little rough, and it is something that I hope to upgrade in the next few months. Actually, I've been good and done. It's been like 6 years, so I'm pretty excited. I think I'm gonna wait kind of for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals and see what I can find or what I want to purchase and put together. I don't know, but that's something that I'm hoping to do in the next little while. And that's a little off topic from the fishing, but while we were talking about aesthetics and the world, I just figured I should let you know the disclaimer that these are probably lower settings than you might expect on some other people's videos. But yeah, the actual fishing itself, this quest went pretty quick. Like I say, once I found the first anchovy, I seemed to get the next few really, really quickly. And in terms of actually leveling, because you do have sort of a level for fishing as well, and much like other professions, each time you get the first of a type, so the first kelp would give you some bonus experience, the first anchovy would give you some bonus experience. It does go pretty quick, because I did cycle through a few unique things, but being level 5 from just the amount of time I spent there isn't bad. And I think a lot of that also comes to that you're not moving from tree to tree or anything. You're pretty much standing there and just casting in and taking the fish out, and casting in and taking the fish out, which is such a nice thing. Another aside, actually, while we have this little cutscene, is that unlike most games, I haven't had issues with bag space yet. I haven't at all optimized my bag or even considered it, which is super weird, because a lot of MMOs, you get to level 20, level 30, and you're like, wow, this is getting kind of irritating for my bags, and you have to go find some. Or there'll be games that are like, they force you to buy bag slots or something like that. And this game really seems to have allowed for quite a bit of bag space where it hasn't been something I've even had to consider yet. I'm still pretty low, so we'll see if that becomes an issue. And I'm sure there might even be a profession, a crafting job or something that makes bags. I'm not sure, but just an interesting aside. One of the things, I love this conversation these two are having right here. I think they do a really good job of making each of the profession guilds feel very unique and have their own kind of culture, their own style, their own goofiness in this regards. So I really do enjoy what they've done when it comes to giving each profession its own unique characteristics, its unique background, its unique feeling. It feels like there's a lot more lore behind them than a lot of other games have, especially at the lower levels, at the introductory place. Like you feel like you're really getting a sense of it. And I also, and I can't confirm this or not, but I think there's only one guild area where you can like learn to become a fisher in the world. Whereas in other MMOs, like WoW, there might be a few different people who can train you that, right? I'm not sure. But yeah. So guys, that's fishing. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a more laid back video. I do hope to progress and become a bard soon and make that video for you, as well as get into some other content as we get into the higher levels. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.